Hi everyone! In this tutorial we will explore a nice little trick to optimize a fluid simulation along the surface of an object. As you know, fluid simulations can be slow and heavy to process, so any little strategy we can optimize will boost the speed and quality of the visual effect. Before we start, I am Luis from Doxia Studio, and I create tutorials in Houdini to help you make the best visual effects for your motion graphic project. If you enjoy the content from this channel, please hit the subscribe and like button to help on YouTube and consider supporting our Patreon page. By becoming one of my patrons, you get access to all my exclusive tutorials and projects and give support to keep doing these tutorials to help the art community. Hope to see you around, and let's jump into the tutorial. Okay, so you all remember this scene right from Daredevil, the introduction for the Daredevil series, TV series, and we got that blood going down the surface. It's super good, and this can be done. I think this was done in how do you call it? The RealFlow, the the Fluid software, but we can easily do this in Houdini. And I'm not going to get all those details, but I'm going to show you a quick tip to make the fluid go along the surface with an optimized way. Okay, so let's start in Houdini. Let's place our geo. And I'm going to show you how do I like to organize everything on Houdini. I like to have different geometry nodes with different systems, so it'd be easier to come back and change, for example, the geometry. And since it's all procedural, everything will update. So let's bring up our geometry file. Okay, already have one. Let's go to job, geo, and I already have this object. Let me shift H so you can see it's on the side. So let's transform. Let's pivot or move centroid to our origin. Okay, let's rotate this. It might be on the X. Okay, pretty cool. And since we are just doing this on the face, because fluid simulations takes a lot of time to process, and since I'm recording and everything, and my computer is old, let's cut this. So let's put a box. Okay, and let's just, oops, what have I done? Let's just check our geometry. And one thing that I'm checking is this geometry is way too big. You can see here the scale. So let's scale this down a bit, 0.5. Might be good. Why is not? Oops, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry. So 0.5. Okay, cool. On the box, let's bring up to 1. And the box, let's see. Let's go different way. So we can see the box is over there. So press shift and you can increase both sides. And now I just want to push this down and this side. Okay. So I think that's cool. And let's make a boolean. How do you write boolean? Boolean. Let's bring this here. And turn off this. So we got our boolean. And let me see if in the boolean I can close that hole. As you can see, we have a hole here, and that's bad for our simulation. So let me just turn off this. And let me try to remember not overlap. I know there's a way to close the hole, but maybe we can come here to polygons, and this might be easier. Polycap. Okay, that will work for now. Okay, so we have our base geometry, right? Right now, let's put a null and call out base geo. Okay, so we have our base geometry. Just one thing, this object, okay, I got it for free on CG Trader. It's a good platform to get 3D models. So if you want to follow up these tutorials, just come here, search for bust, put the free checkbox, and here it is. Okay, super easy. Let's go back. So now let's create our liquid. Let's go liquid. And I'm going to show you the easiest way to do it. That takes time because this system already have built in like a stick to surface or a stick to collider function. So let's go configure flip just to have something already built in. Let's delete this. Okay, let's go step by step. So here on the flip tank, let's change this. Let's push this up. And here, let's push this up. Of course, this will be updated during the simulation. For our flip boundary, you already know if you have seen my other tutorials. This will emit, it will be the source of our flip simulation. And right now it has activation to emit only on the first frame, but we want to emit on every single frame. You can come here and put 1 or Control Shift click and clear everything that is in there. Okay, let's bring up our geometry. So object merge. Let's pick up our base geo, out base geo. Okay, so right now we have our geometry. And let's group. And I'm going to do this because I want only to emit on the start, like on here. You can see, but it's emitting somewhere here on the top of the head. Okay, so we want the liquid to pour down. So let's go back here, and here let's select primitives, select, and let's paint something. Let's pick up the lasso and select only visible, and select something. Let's see, something here on this. Did it? Oh, what happened? Let me try again. Sorry. So let's go lasso, eye, and let's select something like this. And now let's blast. Let's pick up our group and delete unselected. There's something going on that I might be forgetting. Okay, I was going against a bug. So what was happening is sometimes when you import a file, an OBJ heavy file into the project, and it was not updating the viewport. Even after I hidden the base geometry, it was still showing up on the viewport. The way to fix this is just close the Houdini and relaunch again, and it will be working. Okay, so again, sorry about that. So I selected the group. I can see something is there and I don't like it, so let me delete everything and go again and select. Let me go again and select a little bit better. We just with control, sorry, you can delete some polygons that you don't want, but that will work, I think. Yeah, so press enter and that's it, and then blast, select the group and delete non-selected, so we have only these from the alter geometry. And now because for this to work on the flip boundary, for to be a liquid source, you need to have some volume here. So let's poly extrude, and let's extrude something 0.25. That's cool. We got some errors here, but don't mind that. Of course, if you want, you can put a smooth and so on, but we don't really care about that. And let's place a null. Why am I placing a null? Because fluid source geo. I like to keep this procedural. Okay, so if we want to change the geometry source, we can just link to this null and that's it. And right now you can see that we got our volume source. Right now we can see that we got only a few points. That's because our particle separation, the particles are going to be extremely big for this small extrusion. Okay, so one way to fix this, let's go back here to flip boundary. One way to fix this is just reduce these particles. Let's go. Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. So if you see here, it's still a surface and that's bad. We just need to close it. Okay, we need to be a fully closed surface. And right now it will work. And but what I was thinking, was saying is that sometimes if you get like this, if you get high particle separation, or in other words, low resolution on your particles, you won't get all the shape. So let's reduce it to 0.05, something like that. And we got a nice fluid source. So right now, if I press play, you know what will happen. Right now it's all black because we are importing this CD. So let's close this. And viscosity, it's very varying viscosity because we use a pre-done system, right? Sorry, I just broke something. So right now we just want to uncheck that, and let's turn off viscosity for now because I just want to show you what is going to happen. And visualization, let's color by speed, and let's press play. So we have our fluid simulations going down. That's normal, right? And thanks to gravity, and it's just emitting on our source volume. That's what we want, our source geometry. I said volume because this converts to a volume. That's why. So another thing that we want is to collide with our geometry, right? So let's put a flip collider or flip collide. Link this here, and we need a geometry to collide. Okay, we can bring this up here, but as you can see on these lines, this geometry has too many polygons. Okay, and even the topology is quite bad. So let's work this a bit. Let's go convert VDB from polygons just to clean up a bit. Okay, pretty cool. Let's dial this down, 0.05. Let's check if we have all the details that we want. Maybe decrease this even a bit. Okay, we have all the details we want. Let's convert back to polygons. Convert back to polygons. Now we have a nice topology. But even so, it's way too big. So let's drop a poly reduce. So right now, as you can see, we have almost 1 million polygons. Okay. So let's reduce this. Let's go with something really low, 10%. Let's see if it doesn't break everything. It takes a bit to process, but let's wait just one tiny bit. Okay, nice. We still got our details, and now we got 90,000 polygons. But I think that's way too low. Let's go to 25, and that's pretty cool. We got our details. This will work for now, for this tutorial. Now let's place a null. Fluid collider geometry. And let's link this to our flip collider. And right now you can see that we got a better topology. Okay. So one other thing is if you come here to collision, you have these options, stick to collision. And these parameters are a bit hard to work with, and it will make your fluid simulations really heavy. I can try like to max this out, maybe 0.25, and let's see how this works. Takes a bit of more time. And if I press pause and go, for example, to frame 30, I will pause the recording and be right back. So it took me almost 2 minutes to do just 30 frames. And as you can see, this works. But you will get a problem in surface like the nose, because it will keep the max distance at 0.5. And if a particle fluid gets around here on the distance greater than 0.25, it will just drop with like a waterfall. And we want to keep them together to the surface. And even 30 frames 2 minutes, it's way too much. But I want to show you this works. It's not the best, but it works, and you can work around with this. The trick that I'm going to show you is, instead of using this stick to collision, we are going to build a custom volume to keep the particles close, like a magnet to the surface. Okay, and they will still be affected by the gravity, but we will fix problems like the nose. It won't create that waterfall, or the chin, because the fluid has to keep coming like this and do this curve. So it will work, will help with that. So let's turn off this stick on collision. Let's go back. I just want to show you this works. So let's go back. Let's turn off liquid sim, and let's create a geometry. Oops, not test geometry, just a geo. And let's go custom volume. So we want to bring up our base geo, right? Base geo, output base geo. Okay, pretty cool. And now we want to create a custom volume. So we want a volume. I'm going to do this a little bit quicker because I've covered this in so many tutorials that I have done about volumes, about even the last fluid simulation. And we are just going to create a custom attraction volume. Okay, so we will get the normals of the surface in a volume and invert them, so it will be attraction to the surface polygons. So one thing that I want to use is a volume. Okay, it will be a vector named val, right? And by size, let's go with 0.05. I want to use a bound. So with the bound, we can get a box that is the size of our base geometry, and link this here. So now we have a volume with the size. I know you can see, but it is a volume with the size of our bound. And I want a VDB from polygons. Okay. And I want a distance surface. Okay. The voxel size, let's keep up the same as this one. So copy parameter, paste relative reference. So right now, if we change here, it will change here. Okay. And we will see these exterior band voxels in a bit. Okay. So right now I want to create my custom volume. So let's put a volume VOP, link to volume 1 and the VDB to the second input. And let's call attraction VOP. Oops, I didn't write it correctly. Attraction VOP. So here, let's come here, let's cut this, and we want to change our val, right? Our vectors. So what I want to do is, like I told you in many different tutorials, we are going to use the volume gradient. So the volume gradient will pick up our VDB, okay, and it will tell us in the brief explanation, it will tell us the normals of each like this is voxels, but it's going to bring up the normals of the surface. Okay, that's what we want. So let's go here. Let's link sample position position to sample position. Okay, let's go with second input. Let's bring this up. I'm sorry. Let me try to open up this a bit so you can see a bit better. So we have our volume gradient. This is bringing up the normals. So let's go normalize. Okay, we are normalized. Let me try to explain it a bit better. It is telling the distance between a voxel to the surface. Okay, so it is, let's normalize to have the vectors with normalized length, right? And let's go with the parameter. Let's call attraction force. Oops, we can't have this like this. So attraction force. Let's copy to the label, and the float default will be 1. Let's multiply this vector with this float. Okay, and now let's export these new values. Find export. This is going to be a vector, right? And the name is val. So link this here, and that's it. So we now have our custom volume. One way to check this is working, you can put like a scatter. Let's increase, let's turn off relax and increase this to 10,000. And volume trails. How do you trails volume? It's not trail, volume trail. I wrote volumes. So here are the points and here is the volume. Let's link this here, and velocity, let's val dot x. Okay, so as I told you, this is giving us the normals, right, or the distance to the surface, and we want to inverse this because the normals are pointing outwards the surface, so we want to do the opposite. Okay, so if a particle, the idea here is if the particle gets away from the surface, this volume, these velocities will push it back to the surface, and that's is going to help a lot with the nose and on the chin. Okay, so right now we got this distance, right? And if we want to increase the size of these vectors, we can easily come here and increase the exterior band voxel, sorry, to have the vectors bigger. Why is this important? Let me explain to you with a little bit of drawing. So let me try to show you. Let me see if I can. Okay, so we have our surface, right? Like this. And we will have our liquid coming with a thickness of this, right? If a vector is this big, it will keep pushing. If the vector is something really small, like this, if the liquid builds up and becomes bigger, something like this, these particles over here will not be affected by the vector. That's why we are increasing the vector to this size. Oops, to this size. So no matter the build-up, it's going to be, even if it is like this, these particles will still be pushed by the velocity vector. That's why it's important. And right now I lost my arrow. Okay, my mouse. That's why it's important to build, increase these exterior band voxels. That's why. So we have our custom attraction velocity. So let's place a null and let's call it out attraction volume. Simple as that. Let's go up. Let's turn off this because we don't want to see that. And we can come here to the to the flip solver, double click, and we got these outputs, right? So on the force, because you already know fluid simulations are particles, So you can easily put a pop-up effect by volumes. Simple as that. Let's go here. Let's close everything so you can see. We're going to the custom volumes, pick up that null, auto attraction volume. Okay. The field name is val. That's why we created a volume with vectors named val. And I want to update the velocity. I want to increase the blend, so let's go with 0.75, and I want the velocity scale to be a bit higher, but not that much, because we want to keep the gravity pushing the particles, right? We want the liquid to fall down and follow the surface. So don't go crazy and put 5, just put like something 2.5, okay? And let's see how it goes. And one other thing that I like to do is, instead of checking the fluid simulation like this, I like to put a null just to see the particles. Okay, so now I just see the particles. And I'm going to increase the cache to, I like to work with 25,000. It depends on your memory. Okay, and I will press on 90 frame and be right back. Let's see this bad boy. So as you can see, it is working, and took me 2 minutes to do 90 frames and 10 seconds to do 30 frames. As you can see, there's a lot of difference between one way and the other. Okay. One thing that you might not like is, because we are forcing a lot to pop-up effect, we get less fluid simulation. So right now it's up to you if you want to change these values. You can keep this to 0.5 and decrease the velocity scale, or change to force to be a bit better. But I just want to show you this works, and that's how I did it. One other thing is, one way that I like to work, I don't like this system that is here, because it forces you to cache the last mesh. Okay. What I like to do is put a file cache here. Let's call it fluid thin particles. Okay. And then put the same node, particle fluid surface. And here work with this particle separation. It should be the same as this one, or close to it, 0.05. And if you want, play with filterings, and then have another file cache here. Okay, so these ways you can work step by step. So first you check the cache of your particles, do a flipbook to see if they are good, and then go to particle fluid surface, and then cache again the fluid mesh. Okay, simple as that. If you want to use this is good, and your file cache system will be lower, or don't occupy too much space, let's say like this. But the fluid compress, you can really see the animation, right? You don't understand this, but the file cache will be lower. And particle fluid surface, it's good. It's bringing up the colors, of course. But yeah, I don't really like to work with this system, but I just want to let you know how this works. So one other thing is that if you see this flip solver is taking too much time to build up everything, okay? If it takes too much time, you can always increase the time scale. I'm going to show you my project. Here it is. So let's go to frame 1. So as you can see, sorry, the mess. I was experimenting a few stuff. So I have the null for the particles, I have the fluid cache, and then I got here some colors to see. And right now I have the fluid cache. Okay, so these are the particles, as you can see. Down here might be better. And I want to show you, I think it's close to the end. We got the nose. And one problem is that if we didn't have the custom volume, the nose, I tried it and the nose was creating a waterfall. That's kind of bad. So we want the particles to stay on the surface and do this little curve. Okay. And I think on the end, I can press play because right now there are a lot of points. I'm going to show you how many points I got. And as you can see, I got a lot of points. So really good simulation with 0.05, but the scale of geometry was way too big. And right now we got 10 million points. So you can see. But that's pretty cool. And then particle fluid simulation, same particle separation. And I just use a final smooth on the filtering. Okay. And this is the last result, the final result, as you know, as you can see. So I hope you enjoyed this little trick. It's super easy to follow. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to change the strength of your glue to the or stick to the collision or to the surface, just change this velocity blend and this velocity scale. Okay, thank you so much for watching this, and hope you enjoyed this tutorial and this little trick. Thank you, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.